What if you could own a real piece of a global digital bank? That is exactly what Bank Token represents. Bank is a real-world asset token, or RWA. It is not a speculative cryptocurrency. It is the tokenization of 100% of Bankus, a global digital bank operating in more than 186 countries. Through blockchain technology, Bankus divided 100% of the company into 300 million bank tokens. Each token represents real fractional ownership of the ecosystem. Tokenized real-world assets provide global access, transparency, liquidity, and fractional ownership. They represent the evolution of traditional investing into the digital economy. Behind BNC stands a real and growing business. Bankus has more than 116,000 registered users, a current valuation of $75 million, and active products including debit and credit cards, global digital accounts, crypto trading, and an RWA marketplace. All supported by physical offices across international markets. The token runs on Binance Smart Chain and combines ownership, utility, and future governance. In addition, holders gain access to exclusive ecosystem benefits and staking rewards of 1.25% per month. Real-world asset tokenization already exceeds $35 billion on chain and is projected to reach $16 trillion by 2030. Major institutions like BlackRock, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs are already driving this transformation. Because BNC is not just a token, it is real participation in the evolution of finance. Bankus, the bank of us.
A bank of us, indeed. That's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, sisters, brothers, and friends, visitors, guests, I'm your brother, Eric Ture Muhammad, and I'm welcoming you to the Believers Huddle, a special edition of it, if you will. It's known as Financial Freedom Fridays. And on these days, we choose to provide a platform or presentation by which you can look into other additional, rather, options in terms of building your wealth. There are three components to wealth, freedom components, and I'm going to share them with you here. One, of course, is financial. You require financial freedom in order to build wealth. You require location freedom to build wealth. And you require, uh, I did say location, financial, location, and the third and most valuable, time freedom. Those three elements make for a total composite of wealth and building wealth. Wealth can be built through health. Wealth can be built through family and relationships. Can be built through business. Wealth can be built through money and the flow of it. All right. But without those freedoms, it's not doable, highly undoable. So this is the Believers Huddle every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern United States time zone. We appear on this platform. Today, this particular presentation is on our YouTube channel, The Wealth Minister, to give you all a peek into what it is that we do every day, Monday through Friday, and been doing now close to 8 years. We provide personal development, personal growth. We have different themed days. For an example, on Mondays, we deal with what's known as Monroe Mondays. That financial guru and spiritualist, Mr. Dr. Miles Monroe, who's no longer with us, we utilize presentations of his on Monday, and then they're explored. On Thursdays, we do what's known as Book It Thursdays. Book It Thursdays is when we explore books and their summaries. Many times we'll have the author of those books and summaries give it themselves. And today, Friday, Financial Freedom Fridays, they don't occur every Friday. However, this one we felt was particularly required because in this presentation, you're going to find you have the ability to be empowered. We're talking about uh, ownership, we're talking about self-custody, and we're talking about control. So after this presentation, on all of our days when we're available on the Believers Huddle, we generally have what's known as proverbial wisdoms. Now, this is probably why most people come to the Believers Huddle. The proverbial wisdoms are articulated by the one and only Pastor Pamela Dixon. And what she does, she'll utilize a chapter corresponding with the calendar date of the day. For example, today is the 10th of July. So, being the 10th, then we're going to be looking at the 10th chapter of Proverbs, and then she'll provide a passage that speaks to possibly all that we shared here, a passage that speaks possibly to how you can govern the remainder of your day, your weekend, or week. And we look forward to her presentations. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's the Believers Huddle, along with whatever announcements we may have. Now, you're going to get a presentation here at YouTube family. And after that presentation, we're going to resign everything solely to the Zoom platform by which we're on, because we want to protect the integrity of a person's right to privacy as well as their questions. So anything they may have question wise or statement, it will be inside the Zoom, but we'll discontinue the YouTube platform once we get there. But of course, you can go back and look at the general presentation. So we're talking about the bank token. The bank token is the entire tokenization of the bankers business structure, meaning this ecosystem, all of its shares have been divided, and 100% of all the shares you can absolutely purchase ownership in this global digital bank in space. This is a real fraction of a global financial infrastructure. We're talking about real asset, real value, real future. You're going to see how that works in just a moment. You saw a bird's eye view, a video that we just showed, and we showed that video so you get an idea of what has been embarked on. So let me share with you this way. You know, investments have inherent problems. In the past, the best assets were only reserved for a few. For decades, participation in the growth of private company required high capital, access to specialized funds, private investment networks, complex processes, and limited geographic reach, low liquidity. But tokenization changes all of that. Tokenization changes that reality. Real assets can be divided into millions of digital fractions, verifiable and transferable via blockchain. In fact, those assets, those digital fractions that make up bankers equates 300 million tokens. 300 million tokens or 300 million shares of the company. That's 100% total access to ownership. We're talking about greater accessibility in tokenization. We're talking on-chain transparency in tokenization. We're speaking of global liquidity 24 hours, 7 days a week uh, in tokenization. We're talking about participation that can be found happening anywhere in the world. And we're talking about programmable rather, infrastructure. So we're saying private company, tokenization, global access. Now, I just want to go through a couple of terms before we get into the meat of this. If you notice on your screen, you see 4 pictures. These are pictures of videos of projects that we have already underway in our ecosystem. Of course, you see here, this was one you just saw regarding the token. Here we have one known as leverage. Leverage by bankers, where you can take up to 7 of your crypto assets. It can be Bitcoin, it can be Solana, it can be XRP, and you can literally borrow against your holdings. You can borrow 80% of your holdings. So if you have $1,000 of any of those cryptocurrencies, 80% of that is reserved for you to borrow, and you do not have a limit on your repay, meaning this is an ecosystem that allows you to borrow and pay back at your leisure. Okay. Then here you have the Mint, which we did a soft launch in Cancun last week and will be in full effect in South Africa next week. We go to Johannesburg as well as Durban. 12 days of rallying these uh, products of the ecosystem. And we have Celix. Celix is a platform by which you go a marketplace. You can put your products on the marketplace. You can build your marketplace. And all these things and more are in gradual release of the ecosystem. So what happens when you have access to the tokens? You have access to the profitability of all these assets. Folks, ownership is the legal or rightful state of possessing property, giving someone the exclusive right to use, control, transfer, or dispose of it. Ownership allows you to do that. And then you have self custody, which I really want to dive into a little here. Self custody means directly holding and controlling your own cryptocurrency's private keys without relying on a third party bank or exchange. This makes you the sole owner of your assets, meaning no platform can freeze your balance or stop your transactions. And in the relationship to control, control broadly means the power, authority, or ability to manage, direct, or restrain something. It can function as both a verb, meaning an act of exercising influence, as well as a noun, the mechanism or state of command. These are the three things that you want to have in the digital age, cyber age, the digital space. You want to have full control. You want to have full ownership. And you want to have no one shaking your tree, meaning any decision is made by you and no in between, no middle persons, anything of that nature. So let's look at what is bank. Bank is a tokenization of 100% of bank is the company. That means every one token, every one bank equals 1/300 millionth of ownership. It's the economic value of the entire ecosystem. And here, as you see the dots connected, you'll see everything that we provide. Our flagship, of course, is the banker's card. You have that card, many of you have access to the card, and you can still get the card. It is a uh, decentralized fintech with a simplified KYC. All right, that protects that allows you to remain private. It allows you to remain autonomous. Okay, so we have the card out there in this wonderful ecosystem of more than 140,000 users, 40,000 of them based in our organization here in the US and a little abroad. You're going to find that we have paid by bankers, leveraged by bankers, Celix by bankers. We have the Mint program, we have the Mint marketplace, we have wallet exchanges that come across as a result of the marketplace. You'll learn more about that. You have the card, of course, at the flagship, and those that do trading of commodity. Now, so what we're talking about is 100% bankers. That's what you have here in the 300 million tokens. And you have economic participation because each token represents a proportional fraction of the ecosystem. Now, each token connects its holders with the growth and development of the banker's ecosystem through a blockchain-based structure, a global financial infrastructure presented on the blockchain. We're in 186 countries at moment. We have more than 116,000 registered users, really 140 plus thousand registered users. We have 186 countries in presence, and we have a current valuation of $75 million. This means that the audit that was done against the asset gives it the valuation. Now, just so you're clear, the valuation of the company overall is $250 million. When we're talking about the current valuation of the token, we're talking about what has been released of the token made available in terms of value, made available to the public. All right. The token is undervalued. That means securing a portion of the asset right now, you're already earning in a profitable state. We released in a concept, a formula, if you will, not speculative. This is actual. We released in a formula where we under promise and over deliver. The market valuation released to the public for us to participate in right now is 20. Now it's gone up since June, 21 cents per token. You can purchase a token for 21 cents, right? However, the real valuation of the token is 87 cents. And the more tokens you secure, the more of the ecosystem you bite off, and the more product we lend to the ecosystem, the value of the token will stand on its own. And you're going to see some phenomenal growth possibly in your asset holdings. So we want you to know when you're talking about paid by bankers, you're talking about leverage by bankers, you're talking about Select by bankers, we're talking about Mint Marketplace, we're talking about wallet trading cards and the real world asset infrastructure. You're talking about total valuation. As people participate, it grows even more. So how does the token capture value? Okay, offering an education here, and I hope it assists you. First, allow me to say that in the chat, you're going to find very shortly a link. That link is a link to our WhatsApp group on the Team Believe uh, Bankers tokenization. You can join that group for updates and news and information. That chat will be made available to those who might have attended late. That link will be in the chat. The token captures real value generated by the sustainable growth of the bank's infrastructure and ecosystem. Sustainable because we release the token undervalued. Sustainable because the products are now moving forward to enhance the value of the asset. User growth, geographic expansion, use of products, new lines of business, and a real world asset. That's what RWA stands for, folks. Real world asset. A real world asset infrastructure speaks to more activity, more revenue, greater potential valuation. Now, this is based on the model described in the light paper that you can find on our website, Bank, BANC, token, TOKEN.io. Banktoken.io. And we may share a little bit of that before concluding today. Now, here's the asset structure. Total supply, 300 million bank tokens. Bank, the token is designed as a utility token backed by real world assets and bankers' financial infrastructure. That on your right there, that 20 cents is no longer the current price of the token. You can buy at minimum one token. You can stake at minimum one token. However, the token price today is 20 cents per token. All right. So it operates on the BNB Smart Chain blockchain network. It's modeled, of course, again, it's real world asset and it's modeled under utility. And the circulation supply is a fixed supply. 10.08% of the 300 million tokens, its value rather, are in circulation. Fixed supply, scalable blockchain infrastructure, utility within the bank's ecosystem, integration with products and financial services, and focus on adoption and sustainable growth. Bankers, or rather, bank combines real world asset utility and financial infrastructure within the same digital structure. Folks, that's almost unheard of. Actually, it really is. Okay, because you're talking about real world asset combined with the financial infrastructure, and the value that it orchestrates exceeds all imagination. All right. Let me look at this real quick. I was going to skip this, but I want you to to see this again in use case. It's more than representation. Bank also incorporates utility and bankers infrastructure, staking, access to premium benefits, integration with ecosystem products, participation in future functionalities, adoption incentives. Okay. In principle, value does not come solely from the underlying asset. It comes from the utility generated within the ecosystem. Again, we're talking about staking, benefits, utility, and adoption. Okay. This is what we have. This is convergence between real world assets and digital banking. This opportunity, this convergence of both sectors creates a new category known to all today as tokenized financial ecosystems. Here's a little roadmap of what we've done so far leading up to 2026 and where we see 2027. You might want to take a screenshot of that. Okay. Now, again, we're talking about a fraction of the financial future. Bank is the real world asset of bankers. Every token you own represents ownership of the company. It represents a global financial infrastructure, real infrastructure, real value, real growth. The bank token, the RWA of bankers, is 100% of a global digital bank, real world asset, real utility, bankers ecosystem. This is a real fraction of a global financial infrastructure. We're talking about legacy wealth and the ability to explore legacy wealth because you have ownership, you have self custody, you have self control. You have control, rather. I don't know if you have self control. Let me tell you this. Let me share this with you simply as we move forward. This brief conversation today serves as uh, a picture generation. I want you to picture going into your kitchen, your bakery, or your pantry and pull out that pie. And that pie is sliced in 300 million slices. Now, pi is equal to the sum of all its parts. Right now, your pie has 300 million tokens. Each slice of it is an asset. Each slice of it represents ownership. And of course, the more you partake in the slices, well, the greater the share. The more you gobble up the tokens, the fatter you get in perpetual, sustainable wealth. Listen, folks, a good man or good woman leaves an inheritance for their children's children, and that possibility is here. I want you very much to pay attention to the chat over the next few minutes. I want you to get a hold of the link that is there to access the group. And then, more importantly, I want you to get back to the one who invited you to this opportunity to share ownership, control, and self custody. Now, tomorrow represents our Super Saturday. We have a double header going on here. Tomorrow, you will hear from myself on at 3 p.m. Eastern United States time zone. We're doing a bank token onboard training. That training consists of how to register. That training consists of how to share your registration link. It consists of how to set up your wallet, how to build your uh, accumulation of the bank token. All that takes place tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, July 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern on the United States time zone. In the United States time zone, bank token onboard training is an afternoon of training as well as giveaways. And then on that evening, 8 p.m., we do a bankers ecosystem overview, same platform, the one you're on currently, and it will be a live presentation of the entire ecosystem, and you get to see more into what it is that we have. And in fact, once we come back after the next segment, I will show you what we released in uh, Cancun last weekend and what we will do This coming week on the 12th, we leave for Durban and Johannesburg, and you'll see what we'll release there. So, with that being said, folks, bank is that infrastructure. It creates value, and the token represents it. Thank you for the time and attention.
Everything's always about the dream. It's always about the dream. I was 20 years old. I'd already done 6 years in corporate America. And a guy stopped me in the locker room and asked me, do I know anyone who'd like to make an extra 50, $100 a month? He didn't talk about getting rich. He didn't talk about getting wealthy. He didn't talk about freedom. So you don't have to oversell this thing. You know, the average person would love to make an extra $300 to $500 a month. So we're talking about putting millions of people in carry bars. Now we're talking about 20, 30, 40 million people in carry bars. We're not talking about everybody become a multi-billionaire. You can, if you want to pay that price. I hear people all the time say, I want to be a billionaire. Well, okay. No problem. I want to be a multi-millionaire. Well, you can. Okay. But it's going to require you cutting off the television. It's going to require you missing some football games, some basketball games. It's going to require some sacrifice on the part that only you know if you're willing to make. So I like keeping it simple. That guy asked me, do I know anybody like to make an extra 50, $100 a month? I said, yes, me. I didn't know what he was talking about, and I got excited. I got a little bit excited. I got a twinge of hope. There I was 6 years in corporate America. I mean, I'm 20 years old. Had my own home, 4 cars in the driveway, pool in the backyard. My wife was a flight attendant, so I could fly anywhere in the world pretty much for free or for peanuts. Okay, I had all the cars I wanted to drive, didn't buy insurance, didn't put gas in them. The company fed me 5, 6 nights a week. I'm living on a company expense report. I mean, I live a lifestyle people dream about. Wore my shirt and tie to work, my briefcase. I look good, status good, but as far as I was concerned, I was still broke. Not broke compared to my next door neighbor. Not broke compared to the guys in my neighborhood. Just broke compared to people who had some real money. That makes sense. Just like one of my nephews one day asked me, Uncle Tyrone, people in the family say you're rich. I said, well, compared to you, I'm rich. You don't have any money. But compared to Oprah, Uncle Tyrone broke. Okay, so it's a relative term. Money is relative. And money is not to do all to say all. Okay, because when you have some serious health issues going on that money can't solve, you realize how unimportant money is. But I tell you what, I got started. And I'll never forget that first meeting I was sitting there, Mr. Williams, Miss Abram. I'll never forget it. I'm sitting at first meeting on about 200 people in that room, maybe 180, 200 people. And that guy was talking about homes and cars. He was talking about all these material things you can have. And I'm sitting saying, man, I got 4 cars in the driveway now. I got 2 Lincolns in the driveway, a Ford Mustang and a Grand Marquis. 2 company cars and 2 I own. I was just sitting there, didn't mean anything to me. But all of a sudden he started talking about something that meant something. He said, have you ever thought about being free? Now, as far as I was concerned, I thought I was free. I mean, he talking about the height of ignorance. I thought I was free. He said, ever thought? No, I mean really free. I said, man, I'm free right now. He said, I know that some of you sitting there thinking you're free. He said, if you think you're free, don't show up on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and by Thursday, you'll be free. And when he said that, it hit me. I was not free. He said, freedom is when you throw away the alarm clock and you sleep to the crack of noon. Freedom is when you wake up in the morning and do what you want to do with your life. Freedom is when you go to that golf course on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and play golf when everybody else is at the office. Freedom is when you go fishing on Tuesday, Wednesday. Freedom is when you stroll in the movies with your kid on a Wednesday afternoon and there's nobody in the movie theater but you and your child because everybody else is at work. Freedom is when all the fathers at work and you're the only father at the Little League baseball game with your kid or your grandkids. Man, he started painting that picture for freedom, guys. And I never forget, I sit up in my chair. I said, wait a minute, what's this freedom thing you're talking about? Okay. And it blew my mind. He asked a simple question. What's retirement age? Everybody started yelling out numbers. 65, 75. Said, see how we've been conditioned? Retirement doesn't have anything to do with age. Retirement has everything in the world to do with money. This couple speaking from the stage were 32 years old. He and his wife were both retired. 2 brand new Cadillacs in their driveway, owned their brand new home. And they were both retired at 32 years old. I said, oh my God, I got to get this freedom thing. Okay. And I didn't know. I know how long it's gonna take me to get free. Some of you right now today, you don't know how long it's gonna take you to get free. You want to be free, right now you can taste it. I see Dante Taylor, he can taste it, man. He can taste it. I can hear it in his voice. He can take that people who can taste this freedom thing. They want it, but you're willing to pay the price to get it. When I saw it, I was willing to pay the price. Man, I was before then. I knew every television program that came out. I was a walking TV guide. You could call me and say, "What time did the show come on, Tyrone?" I didn't have to put out the news, but I could tell you what time it came out. I was a walking TV guide. Okay, I spent the weekend watching football like everybody else. But when I saw freedom, when I saw that freedom thing, when I was sold that dream of freedom, man, I shut it all down. I said, "I'm going to freedom." And at 32 years old, I was able to. My wife and she was able to walk away from a job she'd been on for 8 years as a flight attendant for U.S. Air. And she walked, yes, we gave up the flying privileges. Yes, we gave the benefits. Yes, we gave up the stock options, gave it all up. Okay, why? So I had a kid, and he didn't even know his mama. He'd come home, and she'd go to reach for him, and he'd run. Because she's flying, and she didn't know him, and he didn't know her. Okay, it was breaking her heart. I said, quit. And she walked away at 32 years old. My son don't even remember. He's 32 right now. He don't ever remember his mother having a job. It took me 8 more years. I didn't retire till I was 40 years old. I'm telling you, I'd do it all over again. It took me 20 to walk into a job you've had for 10 years. 18 years in corporate America and say, I'm out, and never look back. That was July 14th. July 14th. That'd be 22 years. Freedom. What it's all about.
Good morning.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, family.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, everyone.
Welcome, hey YouTubers. You're about to experience something. This is the Believers Huddle. The Believers Huddle occurs every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern United States time zone. On the screen, you see the Zoom meeting ID as well as the passcode. If you find any value in what we share, we encourage you to share with everyone you know, like, and love, because it is about personal development, personal growth. It is about mind shifting to the mindset. It's about where you are, how far you've come, in the direction that you have determined. We're goal oriented, we're energy focused, because we understand where our focus goes, the energy flows, right? So we provide personal development, personal growth on these days that we are live, okay? We also provide a segment, which I explained in the beginning here, known as the proverbial wisdoms. I'm going to get out the way so you can experience that, and then I'll give you a little more of the ecosystem before we close out. And I'd like to give way to the one and only Pastor Pamela Dixon. Pastor Pamela, you're available this morning.
Good morning, brother. Good morning, family. Yes, I am here and available. Just in direction, which way I'm going here. Okay, I'm gonna come out the Amplified Classic, and I'm gonna use verses 4 and 5. And I'm gonna read verse 22 also. So I got verse 4 or 5, and I'm putting in that 22. I'm writing this down myself so I know, based on what was shared this morning. It says, verse 4, he becomes poor who works with a slack and idle hand, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Verse 5, he who gathers in the summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who causes shame. Okay, let's go back. He who, and I'll read verse 22 later. He who becomes poor who works with a slack or idle hand. So that word slack means deceitful, or it could be an idle hand. You want something for nothing. You don't want to put the work in, but you got your hand out for something. But the hand of the diligent makes rich. So when you go out there and you put in the work, okay, then you're gonna reap a harvest. You're gonna have something coming back to you. It says the hand of the diligent makes rich. Verse 5 says, he who gathers in the summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps in the harvest is a son that causes shame. That word summer is timing. What we're looking at, the timing has to be right. Now is the time. So when you take advantage and gather the tokens, the bankers, the tokens at the right time, is right now it's 20 cents. Okay, and the
21,
summer is a
yeah.
wise son, but he who sleeps on it. And then all of a sudden it's harvest time. Now you're trying to get it, your timing is off. When you take and put in the necessary work and the timing is right, then guess what? You're gonna reap a harvest. But then it says also saying, if you don't work, the word that's in the Bible, you don't work, you don't eat. We cannot sit back and hear and see and do nothing. At least seek the Lord. Ask him. At least take a step and put your foot in the water, because if you go in the wrong direction, the Lord will steer you in the right direction. But you can't sit idle and think that you're going to reap a harvest or become rich in terms of the diligent. You got to do something. You got to put in action, in other words. But then verse 22 says, it's the blessing of the Lord. It makes you truly rich. And he adds no sorrow with it. Neither does toiling increase it. So you ain't got to do no hard work, no labor. It's God who's going to bless you and make you truly rich. We can't be trying to bless ourselves. So that's how people end up losing their vehicles. They go out and buy a vehicle and get it on the loan. They go out and pay for things, get it on loan. Then all of a sudden it's coming and taken away from you. I thought God made you rich. I thought God blessed you with that. So you bless yourself and now you can't figure out how to pay for it. It's the blessing of the Lord that truly make it rich. That's in every area of life. In terms of spirit, soul, body, mentally, physically, all walks of life. And he has no hard work, no toil with it. So I thought I chose that this morning. Thanks for allowing me to share that this morning. Have a good one.
Thank you for the share. Folks, y'all give it up for Pastor Pamela Dixon, please. That's Proverbs 10. We're dealing with 4, 5, and verse 22. Give it up for Pastor Pamela Dixon, please.
Thank you, Pastor Pam. Well appreciated once again.
Thank you, Pastor Pamela. Great share.
Take care, everyone. God bless.
All right, folks, I'm going to move to share with you our additional product known as Mint. We released it in Cancun last week in a soft launch, and we're wide open in Durban and Johannesburg with it in our launch this week. I want to also thank Brother Zaf Khan, the Bankers Sales Director of South Africa. He's doing a lot in making this program what it needs to be over those 12 days there. Okay, so I'm going to make way to share this.
What if any?
And I would love for you very much to pay good attention. Stand by.
What if any real-world asset could become a global investment opportunity? That is the vision behind Mint, the world's first platform combining real-world asset tokenization with its own curated marketplace for investors. While other platforms only create tokens, Mint integrates 3 essential pillars into one ecosystem: blockchain technology, professional documentation, and a global marketplace where projects can be discovered, analyzed, and acquired. Mint was created to solve 3 major problems in today's financial markets: limited access to investments, slow bureaucratic processes, and the lack of liquidity preventing assets from reaching global buyers. With Mint, virtually any asset can be tokenized: real estate, companies, commodities, art, financial instruments, and even individuals seeking to tokenize future income or rights. The process is simple. A project registers, activates tokenization using Mint tokens. The Mint team develops the professional documentation structure. The token is minted on blockchain and finally listed on the Mint marketplace for global investors. At the center of the ecosystem is the Mint token, an RWA token backed by the full value of the platform. Not speculation, but real co-ownership, governance participation, and access to the entire Mint economy. Real-world asset tokenization is projected to surpass $16 trillion by 2030. And Mint aims to become one of the leading infrastructures powering this new digital economy. Because Mint is more than a platform. It is the infrastructure connecting real assets with the digital economy. Mint.
Okay, just wanted to share that tidbit as we draw to conclusion here. I do want to thank you, YouTube channel, for excuse me, for being a part of this morning's Financial Freedom Friday. We're going to dismiss here, but if you have access to the Zoom, you're welcome to join us on the Zoom for any questions, comments that are shared there. I want to thank you for your time and attention. Stand